podcast where we spotlight visionaries who blend passion, creativity, and determination to make an impact. Today, I'm thrilled to feature Chef Danny Bullock, a culinary innovator, both whose journey from the kitchen to the distillery exemplifies what it means to feed both the soul and the spirit. Known for his heartfelt dishes that celebrate culture and community, Chef Bullock has also made his mark as the founder of Bull Young Bourbon, a premium bourbon brand that tells a story of craftsmanship and heritage. Join us as we celebrate his journey, dive into the art of soulful cooking, and uncover how he's revolutionary. All right, so we're gonna start over because I'm actually just recording and not uploading simultaneously, which is good. So I'm
Gotcha.
gonna do the read again. All
Cool.
right, here we go. Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to another dynamic episode of the Heart and Hustle podcast, where we spotlight visionaries who blend passion, creativity, and determination to make an impact. Today, we're thrilled to feature Chef Danny Bullock, a culinary innovator whose journey from the kitchen to the distillery exemplifies what it means to feed both the soul and the spirit. Known for his heartfelt dishes that celebrate culture and community, Chef Bullock has also made his mark as the founder of Bull Young Bourbon. It's good too. A premium bourbon that tells the story of craftsmanship and heritage. Listen as we explore his journey, we dive into the art of soulful cooking, and we uncover how he's revolutionary the culinary and spirits industries, one plate and one pour at a time. Danny, how you doing, man? How's it going today?
Jeff, man, what's up, brother? Thanks for
My
having me.
brother, I was so excited to have you, man. I'm really looking forward to this. I've been a fan of all you've done for a long time. So let's dive right in, man.
Let's get to it.
How did your journey start? Your career has been so inspiring to watch you move. Can you start by sharing how like your love for cooking began and how it shaped your path?
Yeah, man. So, my love for cooking really started from music, right? So, Jeff, it's an echo. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't hear it on my end.
You hear?
So
Okay,
are
cool.
you
I hear it on my end.
okay? Is it both of us or just you?
No, you're good. I just hear it on my end.
Cool, you're good, and it'll clean up your audio too. So
Okay.
you're straight.
Okay. So I'll just take my time and just
Perfect.
get used to the echo. So yeah, man, the culinary journey actually started from my music journey, right? Grew up in church. My father's a pastor. My mother's a pastor. My aunt is the minister of music. So church was kind of the root of pretty much all my creative past that I've been able to travel down. But once I got to like middle school, high school, and all my friends that played music, instruments, they were way better than me. I decided to go the, the other way, man. So, yeah, so I say, man, every uh, just to piggyback on the church thing, we had huge Sunday dinners, man. So, um, my aunt would cook, my mom would cook, my grandmother would cook, my uncles would cook. So, Sunday dinners were kind of like the Grammys at my house, right? Because the cooking turned into eating, eating turned into singing, instruments and all. Everyone was it's basically like a big talent show every Sunday. So yeah, man. But I really decided to get into culinary. I say right my senior year in high school. My culinary teacher in high school took me to a job fair, and I was able to meet the chef of the White House, the chef of the New York Yankees, private chefs on movie sets and things like that. So, up to that point, I didn't know what I wanted to do as far as career paths. My older brother, he was established in college with his major. My mom has two doctorates. My dad has two doctorates, and I was kind of, the creative one that didn't want to do the traditional, 4 year, degree program and things like that. So once I found that you can get a collegiate and academic certification or degree in culinary arts to be a chef, that's when I decided to enroll in Kendall College here in Chicago. Class of 2012, I graduated with a degree in personal chef and catering. So yeah, man. So I come from a big family of chefs and cooks and bakers and musicians and preachers too. So being on stage or being on a stove came second nature to me.
So, I got a lot of young people that follow me and like a lot of my students. Maybe talk a little bit about the Kindle experience because it's from my understanding, my friends who've gone through school, culinary school, you learn everything about food, right?
Correct. Yeah, man. Kendall. Funny story about that is I actually went to a community college first on the East Coast. Then I found out about Kendall, and I withdrew myself from that school, even though I was on scholarship. That basically someone else was paying me to go for free. I knew my path was much broader than I guess the Delaware lane. I wanted to be in a
Mm-hmm.
bigger city, Chicago, New York, LA, Las Vegas, a culinary tycoon type of location. So withdrew myself from Delaware Technical Community College, saved up a year's worth of salary from working three different jobs, and I was able to pay for the first year of culinary school in Chicago. So I always say, if you have a plan that you know that can work, that may not be, your parents' plans and things like that, it's cool to take that leap of faith, because I don't think if I would have stayed in Delaware, it would have been your typical country club hotel. Then that was the kind of the culmination of my culinary career, and I didn't want to fall in that, that routine of those that lived in Delaware and wanted to pursue a culinary arts career. I took the due diligence and the initiative to find better schools. And me spending some time, in Chicago, on and off. I knew Chicago was a big culinary city, and I had some connections here, had some family members here. So, yeah, man, I took a leap of faith, and it panned out. And Kendall's probably, I don't know where I would be without Kendall College, because without going to Kendall, I wouldn't have got the intern at this Michelin star restaurant establishment. Then that turned into this full time position job. Then it just snowballed everything from the day I decided to enroll in Kendall. Man.
Wow. So you are masterful with soul food, brother. Maybe talk a little bit about what soul food means to you, and how does it shape, like the art of cooking is who is you lead in the art.
Yeah, man.
How does it shape what you do?
Yeah, it kind of just gave me my template, right? My foundation, all my fundamentals came from cooking soul food. I spent every summer down south in Little Rock, Arkansas. That's where my father's from. So I became a pretty good prep cook from like the age of 4 up to like 14. And also,
Mm.
I can hunt, I can fish. So I'm real good. I was really good with my hands, because that's what we had to do in those summers. It wasn't video games and things like that. It was either we went outside and played ball, or we worked in the yards, or we went hunting and we went fishing. So I kind of had the basic culinary skills um, to kind of get my career started without even thinking I was going to be a chef, because all my cousins did it, all my aunts did it, all my uncles did it. So um, yeah, man, soul food. That's where it's really you learn good knife skills when you, or prep skills. You got to peel 100 potatoes. You got to dice 100 sweet potatoes. You got to clean collard greens, turnip greens, mustard greens. You got to shuck peas, man. You gotta slaughter hogs. You gotta, what I'm saying, all these things just to get a meal for Sunday. And that taught me how to cook in bulk, right? Because my aunts and grandmothers, they had to feed about 55 people all at one time. So kitchen management became a good skill. Prep became a good skill. Balancing flavors, desserts even. So yeah, man, I say the soul food, I guess, college pre Kendall was very, very instrumental in my career, because that's how you know who can cook and who can't cook. Because
Mm-hmm.
a traditional black family, they'll tell you like, who cooking that? Nah, 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 we don't. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
knowing who can cook what and what good food should taste like, I was already educated in that in my adolescent years.
And you allude to it when you speak. Now I hear it. There are a lot of people who think I can get in the kitchen and I can cook in the kitchen,
Hmm.
but kitchen management, thinking about doing things in mass, being able to create consistent quality and volume over time
Hmm.
are like sounds like things that you learned in school and it helps you to this day.
For sure, absolutely. Yeah, personality management too. You learn how to delegate who's good at this, who isn't good at that. Time management, personalities, different culture backgrounds as well too. Man, yeah, all that kind of prepared me to go into a commercial kitchen and be very comfortable as well.
So beyond cooking, you ventured into spirits with bouillon,
Hmm.
What inspired you to start this brand? How does it complement your culinary journey?
Well, I lived overseas from 2017 to 2020. I lived in Tel Aviv, Israel. One of my good friends, Jeremy Pargo, he played professional basketball for Maccabi Tel Aviv, and I was prior to that contract, I was his personal chef down in Miami. And I got him back in shape. He was eating better, cleaner. I got him down to his like college playing weight, and he invested, in a chef and in me. And at that time, I kind of parted ways from corporate, and so he was my first client. And he was like, "Hey man, I just got the call. I just signed 2 years for whatever amount of money. You want to go?" I was like, "Let's do it." And at the time, my son was fairly young, so I had that little window where I could, take that risk and get that experience to kind of set my career up for the next, I guess, decade. So yeah, man. So while I was overseas, that's when I got into like bespoken suits and fedora hats and good wines and champagnes and scotch and whiskeys and like the classic man type of
Hmm. Hmm.
portfolio became very advantageous for me. So I dove real deep into that, learning about I guess the curation of of the product opposed to just being a consumer of it. Then I was able to take a distillery class overseas at the Milk and Honey Distillery. It's one of the oldest distilleries in Tel Aviv, so they gave me an accelerated course into how bourbon's made, how it's sourced, the bottling process, the aging process, the grain sourcing, and things like that. And I was like, man, it's very similar to how a recipe on the culinary savory side, as far as you take literally you make something out of nothing. Bourbon's made with three ingredients only: corn, rye, and barley. So I was like, okay, I've used those ingredients in my chef journeys before. So all the steps it takes to distill and make bourbon is very parallel to culinary terms. And in 2020, the world stopped. So the plan was to
Hmm.
start my own restaurant. It was going to be a whiskey bar, tapas type speakeasy type of thing. Then, I didn't want to risk, my I guess my life savings, but 3 years of salary into a restaurant that wouldn't open until 2 years later. So we kind of
Yeah.
we pivoted and we went all in on the whiskey, bottle process in hopes of the restaurant concept coming later. So yeah, man, it's just an extension of my culinary side. There was no chef ever to have a bourbon line, so I became the first chef ever to have a bourbon brand. Yeah, so and that was the birth of moments in history, right? So it's Bull Young Bourbon, moments in history. No moment is too big or too small to enjoy Bull Young Bourbon.
So tell the people what makes Bull Young different.
It's curated from a chef's palate, right? So it's built to be obviously enjoyed by itself as well as with food, right?
Hmm.
So uh, I would say it's the more stylish bourbon out there too. It fits a man or woman's aesthetic perfectly, right? When you drink Bull Young, I want you to have a nostalgic feel, right? I want you to kind of morph into, the spirit, right? Because it's called spirits for a reason. So, when you're enjoying it responsibly, you should, activate, that alter ego or who you're trying to be on the outside and on the inside too. So, but I guess half of it comes from the culinary side. Me being the first chef ever, that makes it different, and it being as competitive enough to stand up to a Jack Daniel's, a Maker's Mark, or any other any other mainstream bourbon too.
It's dope. I like to always ask my guests to talk about like some of the things you overcome, the obstacles. What's the hardest part about being a chef for those out there that may be interested? Some young person that's
The
looking at you
hardest
right
thing
now.
about being a chef is you're competing with everyone's mother or grandmother's food too, right? Or your favorite restaurants, right? So my resume can be as acclaimed, but I know I got to be on point every single time because I'm compared to my client's previous personal chef or my client's last time they went out to Maple and Ash or anything like that. So the bar is set pretty high. But thank God I've worked at some high level places before. So as long as I bring that same intensity, that same preparation and intellect, and knowing that my guest is expecting a great meal, it usually puts me in a good place. So I would guess I would say the hardest part is meeting guest expectations consistently. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and creatively too, right? Kind of reinventing your cooking style. I try. Sometimes we get writer's block, so I do. You know, even when I'm not cooking, I'm always looking at other styles, other genres, constantly reinventing myself, not sticking to the same, things I did last year or the year before. So yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how your time in Tel Aviv and overseas influenced both your palate and the food you create.
Yeah, man. So overseas, there's no, preservatives in foods and things like that, like things that make, grocery store like supplies perishable for so long. Overseas is mainly farmers markets, right? So I would go pick what I'm, literally out the ground or from the farmers, uh, um, place of business that day, right? And it only
Mm-hmm.
lasts, it only has a shelf life of maybe 1 or 2 days, then it goes bad. So working with fresh ingredients every day was a kind of a dream come true over there. Then it kind of switched my cooking style to less is more, right? Because if you have the perfect tomato that's in season, you don't need too much. Some good salt, some white wine, some fresh herbs, and let it do what it do essentially. So I guess being overseas, it taught me to cook more lighter, um, more finesse, and not as artistic wise. Because working in Michelin star kitchens, man, we had 18, 19, sometimes 20 different components on one dish. Overseas, it may be no more than three, right? You had a
Hmm.
beginning, middle, and maybe some garnish on top. So that's where, like my love for simplicity came from being overseas, because I had some of the best meals overseas in Tel Aviv and Barcelona and Greece and Cyprus and Monaco and all these things. And the chef would show me how he made it. And I was like, man, that's all that went into it. He was like, Danny, man, less is more. Simple, simple. We have the best seafood around the world. So you don't need to, overlap it or overlay it with too much fuss. Sometimes less is more. So I definitely adopted that overseas and try to use as more local ingredients as possible to keep the integrity of each dish too.
What role has, it sounds like mentorship has played a role in your
Hmm.
career.
Hmm.
Maybe talk a little bit about what mentorship is, meant for you. And
Yeah,
then how do you work to pass that on to the next generation coming behind you?
yeah. So I've had everything that I'm doing now. I was taught by someone else, right? So I always looked at a chef, studied them from afar and near as well, to kind of figure out how I can implement that in my game, right? So one chef comes to mind, David Latimus. When I moved back to Delaware, he was the executive chef at the Hotel DuPont. Historical, presidents came through and ate there, and
Mm-hmm.
congressmen, any who's that come through Delaware, they stay there. So he taught me how to more management side opposed to and more culinary fundamentals. So I took that from him. Another mentor of mine, Chef Sean out of Pittsburgh. He taught me the personal chef game, right? Like, okay, when you're working with this athlete, look at their contracts, man. See what they worth. You know what I'm saying? See what they make, so you can kind of. He taught me more of the business side, right? And how to manage one-on-one scenarios where it's just you and the client opposed to you and delegating 15 other guys in the kitchen, right? So he taught me to always be yourself, use your personality, because these high-level clients want you around, like they're letting you in your home and things like that. So bringing a sense of comfortability to the client is actually more important than making a plate of food, because most athletes, man, they sit down, they eat, and they go back to playing the video game for the most part. So he taught me more of the personality side. Then yeah, man, I'm always influenced by the chef, the chef from Tatiana, I forget his name, in New York City. dang, what is his name? Kwame. Yeah, he's my age.
Mm-hmm.
He's excelling. Like he's very aspirational, African American, my age, doing it big in New York City. So I'm always, looking for creative inspiration and mentorship, even someone that's younger than me, because there's nothing I'm not willing to learn or pick a person to gravitate towards, whether they're old, young, male, female, or anything like that, man. Yep.
Let's get into a couple food questions, man. What favorite thing to cook? Favorite thing to pair it with? And give you've named a few, but give me some of your favorite places around the country where you eat, where you go get down.
Okay. Favorite thing to cook. Man, it's gonna sound real Afrocentric, but I'm gonna go soul food, man. Like as far as
Okay.
like on a Saturday, you go to the farmers market, you pick everything out, and Sunday morning, well, excuse me, Sunday night, the prep starts, right? You do all that stuff because that it takes me back to even why I wanted to be a chef. Me and my mom, my grandmother, we would go to the farmers markets on Saturday. We'll buy everything that we need, then we would prep everything the night before, and then we wake up early morning Sunday. We put things in the oven on low, put some on the stove on low, and then we go to church. And when we come back, it's already done. So that whole cooking with soul, you got music playing, you know what I'm saying? You got your wine with you, it's really a whole production, but it's a lot to manage, but that's where it reminds me every single time, like, man, this is why I became a chef, because I'm making soul for men. You got cornbread, pound cake, dinner rolls, fried chicken, fish, greens, mac and cheese, candy yams, black eyed peas, rice. You know what I'm saying? You got 12 things that all got to be out at the same time. So, and usually your grandmother, she the only one, or maybe the grandmother and one or two aunts. But it's a lot of food going out, man. So you got to really know how to delegate that and cook clean as you go. All those things keep, one of my grandmothers passed away, and my other grandma, she's still alive. She's 93. I still call her to this day. Hey, grandma, how you make? And she still, even though I know how to make it, but still, she's able. I can still reach out and call her to this day. Is a blessing, man. Yeah. Yep.
That's awesome, man. So, last question, man. What's next? What's next for Danny, Chef Danny? What's next for Bull Young?
Wow. So I think I've recently announced. So our whole to kind of marry my two loves for food and beverage, and music as well. The Rhythm and Bourbon Cookbook. Right. So it's a concept we recently just rolled out. R&B. It's rhythm and bourbon. The cookbook will have 10, about 10 of our signature cocktails. We have the Young Fashion, the Young 75. So all your traditional bourbon cocktails made with Bull Young. That's one section. Then you have the food section, which has some small bites, snacks, apps, large plates, and desserts. And the third part, which makes it rhythm, is the cookbook comes with a playlist of original music from all Chicago musicians and artists too. So you get the book, you get the bottle. It's really a guide to good vibes for your next dinner party. So yeah, man, that's the next thing I'm rolling out, and I gotta seek. I'll tell you off camera, but it's the rhythm component to that is gonna be a big surprise for everyone. Yeah.
Look, y'all heard it here first. Get the cookbook. Go get Bull Young. Where can we find Bull Young?
Man, bullyoungbourbon.com. We can ship nationwide. If you're in California, Texas, Florida, New York, California, Delaware, your local liquor stores, in pretty much all those states. But bullyoungbourbon.com if you're in Chicago, A&S Beverages, and we recently just got into Benny's. So, but bullyoungbourbon.com, sign up for the email list. You'll get all the updates on retail locations and off premise locations and all the events we have coming up for winter, spring, and summer.
Man, thank you for joining. Hey, y'all, thank you for tuning in. More to come, man. I told you that the goal was to show you how dynamic our community is. We've got so many talented black creators, whether they're creating with coffee, creating with food, or creating with bourbon. They're really driving the culture. So thank you for joining. We'll be back soon. Check in next week. And that's it. Heart and Hustle. Peace.
Sir.
All right, we clear. Man, that was dope.
That was fun, man.